Right now at 10, a body pulled from Lady Bird Lake. What police are telling us tonight.
She was the brake. You know, the truck driver didn't start braking until the impact happened.
A teen driver crushed in her car by an 18-wheeler. Why this case could encourage new federal regulations for sleep testing.
Plus, a controversial new law drawing sharp criticism tonight. What both sides are saying about foster agencies' ability to refuse couples to adopt based on their sexual orientation or religion.
And they're bugging homeowners right here in Austin.
They're like regular termites on steroids.
What you need to know to keep these invasive insects from damaging your home. The Night Beat starts now.
New tonight, an investigation underway after a body is found in Lady Bird Lake. Officers say a paddleboarder discovered the body just after 7 tonight. EMS believes the person is a man in his 30s.
There's nothing suspicious that stands out at this time, but anytime a deceased person is found out in public or otherwise, we do investigate that.
Police are not releasing any other details at this time. Now turning to a new lawsuit filed this week against an 18-wheeler driver and the company that he works for.
This after a young girl was badly injured in a car accident on I-35. The Night Beat's Chris Betts joins us live now along 35. And Chris, this lawsuit involves testing for a certain medical condition.
Every day, Mike and Quita, thousands of 18-wheelers make their way through Austin on IH-35. But according to a recent Harvard study, a large percent of them may have a dangerous disorder. It's called obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, and the victim's lawyer says that's what likely caused this accident.
No idea yet? I don't know. The truck driver said he was tired. Closed his eyes for like 2-3 seconds. Oh, man.
What you're watching is an extremely distraught husband standing in front of the car his wife was just crushed in. This is body camera footage from Round Rock Police.
I just felt everything went black.
Last month, 19-year-old Lindsay Plummer was driving home from spending the day with her mom when she was stopped by traffic on I-35. And all of a sudden, she was hit from behind.
She crumbled the car, and he's actually the one that pushed me over to the side of the road.
An 18-wheeler going 55 miles per hour slammed into her at full speed.
It's the worst thing I've ever had to go through.
The driver admitted to Round Rock Police he fell asleep at the wheel.
From 1 minute being fine and shopping to I can't walk.
Leaving Lindsay
sorry.
in this wheelchair. But could this have been prevented?
In the back of the truck, there's his little bed.
According to her lawyer, Brad Bonilla, absolutely.
Our client's likely going to experience lifelong and permanent complications because of a bad decision on behalf of the trucking company.
Bonilla filed a lawsuit this week against the trucking company based in Dallas and the truck driver, saying he should have been tested for sleep apnea.
A little bit more than 1 in 4 drivers out there have problems getting a good night's rest, and that affects their ability to operate a motor vehicle.
It's a national debate in the trucking industry right now. Some companies already require testing for sleep apnea, but it's not federally mandated yet.
It's just difficult to find drivers. It's hard to qualify them.
John Esparza is president of the Texas Trucking Association. They're not against the idea, but tests cost money and there's no guaranteed treatment.
You're going to be taking good drivers off the road who would otherwise be out there earning money when there's not an issue for them because they meet a quote-unquote index.
That index is for drivers with a BMI of 35 or higher. Bonilla believes the driver in his client's case meets that criteria. As for Lindsay, she just wants to make sure that her story is heard.
Even if he would have stopped just to take a little nap, it wouldn't have costed the company much money.
Preventing this from happening again. And we want to note that the driver in Lindsay's accident was not charged or even ticketed. To read more about the potential regulations for sleep apnea for truck drivers, you can click on this story on KVUE.com. Reporting live along I-35, Chris Betts, KVUE News, Night Beat.
The family of a teen struck and killed by a car while walking his bike across the street is now suing the city of Austin. 14-year-old Alexei Boris was hit by an SUV last year while crossing the intersection of Spicewood Springs Road and Rustic Rock Drive. He was less than a mile from his home. His parents are suing the city and the driver, claiming the stoplight played a role in their son's death.
Governor Greg Abbott signed into law a bill that allows foster agencies to refuse couples to adopt based on their sexual orientation or religion. The legislation drawing sharp responses from both sides of the debate. The Night Beat's Michael Perchik is in the studio tonight with more. Michael?
House Bill 3859 allows foster care agencies to reject potential parents if the agency raises religious objections. Supporters like Texas Value say the bill is about religious freedom for adoption agencies and foster care providers. Representative James Frank, who introduced the legislation, said it banned nobody and would help encourage people to participate in fostering kids. But opponents believe the legislation could box out LGBTQ couples as well as those who have different religious backgrounds. They further claim it could be more difficult for children in the foster system to be placed in a home.
So what this law does is simply say that these groups like Buckner, Catholic Charities, Lubbock Christian Homes are going to continue to be able to operate and even expand without the fear that they'll be punished by the government.
This bill will make it easier for families to be discriminated against, and also it makes me worry that kids who are in foster care who may identify as GLBT could be forced to do reparative therapies, which have been discredited by all reputable organizations.
The legislation also applies to agencies who do receive state funding. Now, if an agency does reject a prospective foster or parent based on religious backgrounds, they will be required to refer them to a separate foster organization. I'm Michael Perchik, KVUE News Night Beat.
Thank you, Michael. Dozens of families are calling for state leaders to reconsider how fathers are treated in family court post-separation or divorce. Crowds of fathers and mothers met alongside the Capitol steps today, rallying for father equality after House Bill 453 didn't receive a public hearing this past legislative session. The bill, if passed, would have automatically granted parents 50-50 custody rather than offering the mother full responsibility.
How do you explain to a 3-year-old child that he's not allowed to see you more often because somebody outside the family decided it that way?
This is a little fix that would go a long way in improving the experience of the child.
Dozens of families are calling for state leaders to reconsider how fathers are treated in family court post-separation or divorce.
Tonight, Cuba rejecting what it's calling hostile rhetoric in President Donald Trump's speech about changes in the Obama-era policy. President Trump announced the U.S. will not lift sanctions on Cuba until it releases all political prisoners and rejects the Cuban people's right to freedom of assembly and expression. The Cuban government says it's willing to continue the conversation if it stays respectful.
Austin-based Whole Foods now in the hands of online mega giant Amazon. The company paid $13.7 billion for the grocery chain. Amazon says Whole Foods' home base will be in Austin. As for why Amazon wanted to snag the natural foods international chain, it's all about delivery.
I think if you look at what Amazon's trying to do and get to that last mile and be able to deliver things to us faster, there's not a much better, opportunity to establish a presence in a lot of our communities than a company and a brand like Whole Foods.
Shoppers say they hope Amazon preserves the Whole Foods culture.